Hi guys, I know you guys can't see this even though I can, but that's sort of been done on purpose because I wanted to have, I didn't want to be looking down at my phone and not being in the mic's view or having it the exact opposite way. But this video is basically about Canadian borders in the US and Ottawa and all that. So if you're watching this for any other reason, I advise looking for another video because this isn't it. But the title is basically that Ottawa specifically, for those of you that aren't Canadian, that's where our federal government, the sort of head everything is in Ottawa, in that sort of special looking building that's not on any of our coins, unlike with the U.S. where I assume theirs are. Although I think everything's at the Dominion for some stupid reason. Um, the Ottawa has given U.S. border officials much more power to the borders, and specifically airports. So we're not talking about land borders. We're not talking about if they accidentally catch you going over the line every once in a while you're fishing. We're talking about airplanes. If you're going from Canada to the U.S. specifically, and I hate GTA for this one reason. I had a feeling it was going to be a freeze frame. Federal government, and this is all coming from Canada, just for the record. None of this has anything to do with the U.S. except for going from Canada to the U.S. and the border guards that work for the U.S. that are at the Canadian airports. That's the only U.S. part of this. So I'm not gonna discuss any of that again because that should make sense, even though it doesn't. My nose is like borderline bleeding, so it's running with cal right now. Federal government said new rules enhance border security and make U.S. travel easier. Give you like 5 reasons why A, that's unnecessary, and B, that's just stupid as hell in the first place. I'm gonna skip the caption from the above image because it's sort of it's talked about later in the thing. Even though you guys can't see this, but you know what the hell. Concerns are mounting over added powers Ottawa has granted U.S. Customs officers to strip search, question, and detain U.S. bound travelers on Canadian soil. Now, for the record, between travelers and on, there is a very big dash. It's actually like a double dash. I think this was written on a Mac, because you can't actually do double dashes that I know of on Windows unless they updated that. The changes are part of Canada's new Pre-Clearance Act, which the federal government says will enhance border security and make travel to the U.S. easier. And I'm not going to try to say the names or whatever. I just woke up. I'm going through hell right now, so I'm not even going to bother to try to say names. This person, an Iranian-Canadian immigration lawyer, fears it could make travel more difficult for her. Now, for the record, the only reason I'm going to be slipping up today is because my lips are dry and my tongue keeps sticking on them, which is exactly what happens there. That's because the Act gives U.S. Customs officers in Canada broader interrogation powers at a time when the U.S. has toughened its stance on immigration and has increasingly hostile relations with Iran. I will not allow a border officer to have access to me and have unfettered right to question me to no end. He's based in Toronto, and serves many Iranian clients. They're a lawyer in Toronto. Which, for those of you that don't know anything about Canada, Toronto is in Ontario, the biggest province in the country. It's also right above New York. Since the Pre-Clearance Act took effect in August, she has stopped traveling to the U.S. and said the country's current standoff with Iran has only strengthened her resolve. In the same way, sister. In the same freaking way. Pre-Clearance Act explained. Canada's new Pre-Clearance Act overrides a previous agreement with the United States that allowed travelers to clear U.S. customs and pre-clearance zones at Canadian airports before flying across the border. 8 major Canadian airports already have pre-clearance areas, and the new act paves the way for more zones involving all modes of transport. Wait, I need to read that again. Yeah, overrides, that's what I thought I heard. So basically saying pre-clearance areas are BS now. Proponents say pre-clearance offers may benefit many. I wish either they could write the stupid thing properly or that I could, process it properly so I could actually say it. Proponents say, I still don't think that's the right word, but whatever. Proponents say pre-clearance offers many benefits, including allowing Canadians to enter U.S. customs in their own country. Let's give that a thought. We Canadians are going to bomb the White House. Yep, that sounds like something I've heard recently. For the people that have the stereotype of not even getting mad about anything, yeah, we totally need tougher security. Jesus fucking Christ. I've been here my whole life, mate. I have never heard of something like that, and I'm very political. They land in the U.S. as a domestic passenger, so you don't have to go through long lineups. That's just telling us who the hell the person is. I hate how the articles give like one short sentence or one sentence of something someone says, and then the rest of the paragraph, which is like 2.5 lines long, is just about the person that read it and where they're from. Like the company they're from or their position is like, really? While they don't dispute the benefits of pre-clearance, some immigration lawyers claim the new act could jeopardize Canadian rights. Yeah, we have something like that, don't we? I can't remember what the fuck it is. Oh my god. I think I fell that part in socials. I'm not a big history person. I know what I need to know, and I know what things are and what they have in them, but as far as the name goes, don't even think about asking me. I know everything that's in it, I just couldn't remember the name as if someone had done my head. The big concern is that American pre-clearance officers could now further interrogate Canadians who withdraw their application to enter the U.S., perhaps because they feel uncomfortable during customs inspections. Yeah, exactly. I've had dreams about that. I've literally had dreams about that. That's one of the reasons I won't go down is because it's almost worse. Then it's actually almost worse than it was at one point. I do believe worse. To back out mid search or whatever, because like regardless of if you're dripping down your face and your heart's like at 215 BPM, like heart attack mode, they're gonna take that suspiciously, even if you have all the documentation that says, "Oh, I have a heart condition. Bye." They actually don't have to let you go that I know of, which is another reason is because it's all bullshit. But what I just woke up. I actually don't mind my voice right now because it doesn't sound like mine. I hate mine. But there was a point when actually, and this actually, I believe this actually happened to someone. Of course, if you could find the things from years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, which I doubt you would be able to anyways. But there was a time where it was actually safer to go through it was either safer to go through mid check and then back out because of something, whether or not you had to go to the bathroom or you were going to literally pass out or whatever, or you felt threatened or something like that, any reason. That's not like, oh, I lost my kitty at home. That's not something like that. It was safer to back out mid search or mid questioning and walk away than it was to actually go through the border and get arrested and charged with something criminal. Not joking, or was the exact opposite way around. Whichever one's more ridiculous, I can't remember which one it was because I literally forgot the order of the sentence I was going in. But it was at one time it was actually better to do the worst route than it was to do the normal one because they were more suspicious because American border guards are terrifying. I have PTSD from the first time I went down to the States when I was a kid. I was probably like 10, 8, 10, somewhere around there, and I could give you the border guard's last name. It was by coincidence part of the terrifying factor, but and no, he wasn't Mexican. But I have PTSD from going through the border. No shit. So it's like, and I mean, ever since like the third time I went to Disneyland, because it wasn't for very long, we were just going to meet people and ended up going through briefly anyways. I haven't gone down since. I don't have a valid passport and I haven't for like 10 years. Like, I refuse to go anywhere near the border. I donate money to build a wall between Canada and the U.S. It's so bullshit. Anyway, while they don't dispute the benefits of pre-clearance, some immigration lawyers claim the new act could jeopardize Canadian rights. We already went through that. The big concern is that American pre-clearance officers could now further test. Yeah, we already went through that. Previously, law-abiding travelers could simply leave and return home because they were still on Canadian soil. Yeah, now they could be detained, even handed over to Canadian authorities to face charges for refusing to answer questions about why they're withdrawing. Yeah, exactly. It's bull. Who in their right freaking mind is going to do that, especially to a Canadian? Who have we bombed? Like, exactly. Prove that point. Compared to any other country, we are the most peaceful country that I know of. I mean, yes, there's like 150 countries and stuff, and most of them aren't even on the freaking map, like title-wise, that I know of. I mean, I haven't looked at the world map for freaking ever, so don't judge me on it. And I suck at geography, so that's nothing negative. But what Canadian has actually bombed the place outside of their own country? And even if they have, we would never let them go. Because the only two possible things that I could think of that are related, that are similar to that, are a Quebec thing and an Ontario thing, I believe, from like a couple years ago, or last year or something, and like way early, beginning last year or 2 years ago, something like that. But I don't believe they included bombs, and they were dealt with. They wanted to get arrested. That's one of the things that I even told my mom, like, yeah, if there's any place that you want to have a shooting, make it in Canada because they always turn themselves in. Like it was when there was actually a high last year, I believe it was like early mid last year. I think there was 9 incidents in Canada or something like that. Like there's just a streak of them all, probably because everyone pissed at the U.S. But they all walked into a police station. They had murdered people. They had blown up things. They were committing shootings and stuff at churches. They all turned themselves into the police. Literally, whether they called them and told them exactly where they were and what they'd done and who they were, or they walked in like 6 or 7 hours later and they walked in, the police told them what they did, and they were arrested. We turn ourselves in, mates. We ain't the security risk in the slightest, especially compared to the way the U.S. is being done right now. Like, holy crap, it's a fucking joke. Anyway, you say, I think you're racially profiling me and I'm offended. I don't want to go to your country. I want to leave. Now is a Calgary-based immigration lawyer. In brackets, it says U.S. officers are entitled to examine those reasons, and if they think you're not being truthful, they're entitled to detain you. Yeah, because who's going to believe a Canadian? In case you haven't met a U.S., and I'm not talking about Canada, because I've never heard a negative story from Canada. Like, yeah, maybe they're creepy, but they're really nice still. And I've known people that have gone down to the States like close to 100 times, or if not over that. And the way back is always a piece of freaking cake. And it's almost like joking, like it puts a smile on your face practically, whether it's late at night or whatever. But when you go into the U.S., it doesn't matter who the hell you're dealing with, if it's a freaking princess or not. They will give you the look like you are a hardened criminal, and they know you're getting away with it, but they're gonna let you go anyway. It is fucked up, especially when you're going from Canada to the U.S. Who in their right mind has ever gone to the U.S. from Canada and done something wrong, or at least on purpose done something wrong? Give me a list. Like, come on, man. And the government defends changes. Of course they fucking do. The lawyers in Toronto said the new rules are especially troubling for racialized populations, such as those of Middle Eastern descent, could be targeted for questions. Yeah, I think. We're the ones that are deemed a threat, right? The domestic threat of some sort that they need to data mine. Yep, that's the way it's going. Public Safety Canada said the withdrawal rules were revamped to prevent bad actors from probing pre-clearance zones in search of a weak entry point. When has that ever been a problem for us? When has that ever been a problem for us? See, here's the thing is that if we were in the US right now, this would make total sense. I would have no problem with it because it makes logical sense for why, even though the US doesn't do anything outside of the US. Like, people from America don't go to Iran and set off car bombs or stuff like that. They send drones out from the government, which do not need borders because it's the government, people. They're so special. So, like, for the US even, this is a little bit sketchy, but I could understand being placed. But for Canada and from our government, Now there is something I have as a guess as to why and why it would make sense at the end of this. And you're gonna want to hear it, considering my stance on all this. Allowing a traveler to withdraw without any type of examination creates challenges in terms of border security. No, it doesn't. You just don't want to trust it because you can get blamed. He added that U.S. pre-clearance officers questioning travelers who opt out to withdraw can't unreasonably delay them. They put unreasonably delay in quotes. U.S. pre-clearance officers are questioning travelers who opt to withdraw can't unreasonably delay them. Oh, I hate simplifying. But what constitutes an unreasonable quote-unquote delay could be open to interpretation. When you look at it from the U.S. perspective of wanting to protect the security of the country, that could result in some very extensive questions. Yeah, of course it would. Of course it would. I don't understand that. Especially since the U.S. doesn't trust anyone, and yet they have so much height in themselves, yet they're the ones that are causing the terrorist activity. Or at least most of it. I'm talking specifically North America. They're the ones that cause all of it. They're the ones that are at fault for it. Every single one of them. Even if terrorist attacks and stuff, like 9/11 stuff, were faked, it's still the U.S.'s fault, and they still killed hundreds of people. Like, regardless of which perspective you come from, on U.S. events solely in the U.S., whether they were done by terrorists or they were done by the U.S. government themselves, it's still the U.S. that brought it on. Because what country is going to send terrorists, whether it's by the government or some supercell or something like that? I know I got the terminology wrong. That like you're not just gonna hijack a plane and cause tons of people in a certain country harm or death unless they did something wrong to you, especially in the World Trade Center in 9/11. Like, that doesn't happen unless the country that it's happening to does something wrong in the first place. Like, there's hate there. There's serious hate. So, regardless of which perspective or side or point of view it's on, in order for a country to have an impact like that, or for something like that to happen, it's solely on the country, because you can't do that. No one does that. A lot of people hate Russia, but you don't see us flying drones in there and stuff, or saying, hi, we want to blow your heads off with jets and stuff. Like, we don't do that. It happens in the US. Like, explain that one, people. Prove me wrong there, because I don't think you can. Again, I welcome it if you can, but I doubt it. Protected by Canadian rights. Bruno said that law-abiding travelers shouldn't encounter problems at the pre-clearance zones, and maintains that it beats clearing customs in the US where you can't withdraw. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's another reason I won't go down, is because if you're in the US and you're trying to get back to Canada, you cannot pull out. They will destroy you for that. They would be more than happy to burn you alive for that, behind a 5-inch thick steel wall where they can't hear you scream. They would die to do that. If you try to withdraw, I swear to God. It's terrifying. I've read stories about that, because of course somehow no one I know of, I mean, I've had a friend, but of course he was a loophole, so it's no wonder he got searched for like an hour and a half every time he went down to the border and pick up stuff. Like, yeah, I would search him too. So, but I've never actually had someone that got stopped at the border aside from them. And I've known a couple people that have gone down dozens of times, well over 50 times, and like a year even, and they You know, they come back, they don't want to get checked, assuming they were to be, and they get arrested. Doesn't matter how clean you are. U.S. pre-clearance officers in Canada must follow Canadian laws, including the Charter and Human Rights Act. Yeah, that's what I was remembering about this stupid thing from the beginning of this article, the Charter and Human Rights Act, which is a federal thing. It's what covers all of us. Um, but that seems to, what this seems to do is bypass it. Yeah, get a load of this lesson. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, our president, because we don't have one, but that's basically what he is. Justin Trudeau made this point when defending the new act before it had come into law. There's extra protection, he told the Canadian press. Fuck you, we don't need extra protection. No one comes here to bomb us. And the people that do bomb us are our own people that turn themselves in afterwards. Like, come on, you can't beat that system. It's perfect. We already have gun laws. Like, mate. Why? We're the one country you shouldn't do this to. You should put this in France, actually. France would probably benefit from it greatly because of the problems or at least the problems they had a couple years ago, when they had like the entire army in the city and stuff, guarding everything because they were worried about bombs and stuff, and their terrorist stuff happening. This would have been perfect then. I would have 100% voted for it. However, Canada's Privacy Commissioner has argued that protection appears to be hollow due to Canada's State Immunity Act, which grants the U.S. government immunity in most cases. Yeah, exactly. Probably because they don't want to deal with the U.S. officials either. Like, in all honesty, who would? We're about to get to the good part, guys. Hold up. A Canadian who believes a U.S. customs official has broken Canadian law has little recourse in the courts. Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, if you go through through the border, and I'm trying to think specifically of the air one because I have been through the air border once when I went to Hawaii. I've read too much news. Hawaii. Jesus Christ, you know, island. I think it's where Guam is. Oh my god, I can't believe I said that. Way too much news, people. Um, it's basically you going through the thing, and I've had this happen before. I've actually had gone through the metal detector and had it go off before. It was it actually at, I think it was actually at, yeah, it was at the whole, I almost said it again. It was at the Hawaii border. Like going, like at the airport. Here's the reason I didn't get my ass kicked for it was A, because I was a lot younger at the time, like I was probably 10 or 12 max. And, like I was a kid when I went. And, oh yeah, that was a good like 7 or 8 years. Yeah, I was 10. Maybe 11 when I went. I think I was 11. Um, but yeah, I was 10 because spring break. Anyway, I walked through the metal detector at the airport. Like we're inbound. We're not like at Hawaii or anything yet. We're at the airport, and I went through the gate. Me and my dad both had to for some reason, whether it was because they didn't trust us or we were tall or we looked menacing or whatever. Even though I was a kid, so good luck making me look like I was a terrorist. Um, it's supposed to be funny. But they made us go through that revolving metal detector thing where the metal moves in the ground and stuff for a really quick scan and makes all that noise. And I came up as it looked like I had 4 knives in my pockets, but it was really just because I had pants on that had zippers on the pockets, and I showed it to him. I'm like, yeah, don't worry, it's just I have zippers on my pockets, and he just let me through. He understood completely. He was totally nice about it and cool about it or whatever. I don't even think he said anything. Um, and of course, I almost passed out when that happened. Like that fucking terrified me. Of course, people know from example that when I've had to deal with police or whatever, I'm not a bad person. When I've had to deal with police or whatever, talk to them for any particular reason, and I'm fucking terrified of cops. Never done anything wrong or whatever. I've been terrified of cops since I was literally born. Like I hate them. They're those big bad guys for me. I am no kid anymore. They still terrify the hell out of me. Um, and what's it called? And I'm the nicest person in the world. I'm an open freaking book. You could ask me the dirtiest question and I'll straight up answer it. And the second that it stops, I'll still be cool, but I'll start sweating or whatever. I'll get really hot, and it'll be like I'm in a boiler room. Like it's still less, but I hate cops, and it's a boring thing. So don't go through the border with zippers on your pants, or you will be asked. Hopefully not more than I was, but I highly doubt that. Probably gonna check to see if you have a wire cutter hidden in your zipper. I could see that happening too. That's the funny part. They're making me laugh. I'd probably start making fun of them. Anyway, here's the fun part. Right to strip search. Immigration officers, immigration lawyers, not the same thing, are also concerned that under the new act, U.S. pre-clearance officers can now strip search Canadian travelers. Now, when we were in Seattle, yeah, was it when we were in? Yeah, we were in Seattle. We were at the airport in Seattle. We were in five. We were taking 5 planes, to get to Disneyland and stuff. And this was the first time I went down to the U.S. ever. Um, and there was a guy. He looked a little loopy, but he had two security officers. And this was right outside the that hallway thing that goes to the plane, like that thing that's like mobile that detaches from the dock and stuff. It was right outside of that, like right as you're going on a plane, the person checks your ticket. It was happening on the right side of that because the checking and stuff was happening on the left side and stuff. We were walking down the middle, and I was on the right side. But to be honest with him, I would have been dead if I was him because I would have just straight up dropped dead. I would have passed out. But he was being strip searched. But back then, at least, it was only to the first layer of clothing, minus the top half, if you get my drift. Apparently, until now, U.S. pre-clearance officers couldn't strip search you if you were Canadian. I didn't know that, honestly. I thought they could. Public safety spokesperson said that U.S. officers must have reasonable grounds to do the search, and that it will only happen in rare circumstances. And it says in quotes, "We're Canadian," and in brackets border, where Canadian border officers are unable to respond or decline. Wait, what? Is that for English? U.S. officers must have reasonable grounds to do the search, and it will only happen in rare circumstances where Canadian border officers are unable to respond or decline. That doesn't make sense. Respond or decline? What the hell is that to? They're the one doing the search, and not the one being asked the questions. Something's wrong there. Unless they're missing facts or something like that. That sentence makes no sense. I don't even know what it would mean. Because it could mean a few things. Just because that the way it's written is so weird. Immigration lawyer said his concerns with the act are compounded by the fact that some customs officers appear to be getting tougher at U.S. land crossings along the country's northern border. In 2019, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol doled out almost double the number of 5-year bans of to travelers crossing from Canada compared to 2018. When the Americans are treating Canadians like this on American soil, why would you allow them so much autonomy on Canadian soil? Said Saunders, whose office sits close to the Canadian border in Blaine, Washington. I'm appalled by what the Canadian government has agreed to. Yeah, so am I. Travelers who feel mistreated can submit feedback to a pre-clearance consultative group set up to provide oversight. He also pointed out Canadian customs officers will have equal powers in U.S. pre-clearance zones. Canada currently has no pre-clearance zones in the U.S., but Wilmington said the government is exploring the potential. Well, I'm going to leave that article in the description, as I usually do. This just means that basically even with Trump out of power, if assuming he doesn't get elected, then I'm probably still not going to go into the U.S. anytime soon, because there were two reasons why I would refuse to go down to the U.S. before, with a side hitch for the second one. The first one was because of the family situation I was in, which I'm not going to go into. It was just really messy, and it was sort of it was one of those things where I didn't want to go down with someone, so I refused to get my passport, so I couldn't. And I was a kid back then, but I was like 13, so still counted. The second reason was because the border was so freaking strict, and you could be searched and everything and all that, and you didn't have very many rights. And now for someone that has anxiety and paranoia and all the disorders and disabilities that I have, good fucking luck getting me to go through it. It ain't happening. I'm aware of all of it. I read everything. I'm not taking the chance. I don't trust the odds in any way, shape, or form. But the third one was because Trump was being elected, and that drew the straw for me. And that happened in 2016, for God's sakes. But that's what drew the straw for me. It's like, if you're gonna do this, you ain't doing that. And I haven't gone down since. So, and it's been, what, 10 years now, actually? So, let me know what you think down in the description, or text me on Discord if you're actually in the server, or have me as a friend, and I will talk to you guys later. So.